Look at the events you've written down. Can you see that the conclusion you reached, I'm not good enough, is a valid interpretation of those events? Would you say that many children the same age as you, who had the same experiences as you, would have formed the same conclusion you did? Now we're going to play a little game I like to call possibilities. We'll imagine 4 friends of yours are visiting you and looking at a videotape of the events you just wrote down. Now, your interpretation of those events when you were a child was, I'm not good enough. That is one valid interpretation of mom and dad's behavior. That interpretation wasn't wrong, but there are other reasonable interpretations of the same childhood events that you just didn't think of as a child. So let's ask each of your friends for another alternative interpretation. One friend might well say, Mom and Dad thought you weren't good enough, but they were just plain wrong. Couldn't this interpretation explain your childhood events just as well as your interpretation, I'm not good enough? Now here's what your second friend says after watching the video of your childhood. Mom and Dad were mad or annoyed because you didn't do what they wanted or the way they wanted or when they wanted, not because you aren't good enough. Isn't this interpretation just as good as the interpretation you came up with, I'm not good enough? Here's a third possible interpretation of your childhood events that one of your friends suggests. Maybe you weren't good enough as a kid, but that doesn't mean you never will be. Couldn't this interpretation explain those events in your childhood just as well as your interpretation that I'm not good enough? You see, your childhood interactions with your parents could have lots of meanings. Here's one your fourth friend suggests. Mom and Dad's annoyance wasn't because you weren't good enough. They just had unrealistic expectations for a child your age. Friend number one has another suggestion. Maybe you weren't good enough to do certain things. That doesn't mean you weren't good enough as a person. And friend two comes up with another one. Your parents thought that acknowledging you would lead you to get a swelled head. That's why they reacted the way they did. Couldn't any one of these interpretations explain those events in your childhood just as well as your interpretation that I'm not good enough? Of course they can. So do you accept that I'm not good enough is not a fact? It's not the truth, but just a truth? Merely one interpretation of many possible interpretations of earlier events? Let me repeat the question, and please make sure you answer out loud. Does I'm not good enough now seem like it's not the truth, but just a truth? Another way of saying this is, do you get that this belief is just one interpretation of many possible interpretations of the events we discussed earlier? Feel free to pause the program so you can read over the interpretations if you'd like. With a little help from me and from your friends, it's now clear that your parents' reactions to you after you didn't do what they wanted you to do could have at least 6 different reasonable interpretations or meanings. Do you remember what you wrote down a few minutes ago as the source of your belief I'm not good enough? Look at the text box below your screen. Right now, imagine seeing what you saw then and hearing what you heard then. Take a few minutes and really imagine the events of your childhood that led you to the formation of the belief I'm not good enough. Didn't it seem when you were a child as if you could actually see I'm not good enough in those early events with your parents? It did, didn't it? You may have the sense that you didn't see the belief, you felt it. Once you formed the belief I'm not good enough, you probably did feel it. I'll say more about the feeling in a minute, but what I'd like you to focus on now is not the feeling but on my question. Didn't it seem as if you could see I'm not good enough? As if we're out there in the world. Here's why we usually think we can see our beliefs. What happened was that you looked at events that could have had many different meanings and chose one, which was I'm not good enough. By attributing that specific meaning to the events, each time you saw Mom and Dad's behavior, it was as if you could see that meaning in their behavior. But you didn't discover the meaning in the events. You attributed the meaning to the events. They had no meaning before you gave them one. Look at the lemon on the screen. Can you see the lemon without seeing the yellow? No, the color is inseparable from the actual object. You can't see one without seeing the other. Even imagining the lemon will cause you to imagine the color yellow. It's the same when you attribute a meaning to an event. Once you do, seeing the event is the same as seeing its meaning for you. Right now, imagine being a little kid and seeing mom and dad's behavior and expression, and hearing their words and tone of voice. As you imagine it right now as a little child, doesn't it seem as if you can see I'm not good enough? It does, doesn't it? But did you really see I'm not good enough? Before you answer, here's what I mean by seeing something. You can see the computer you're using now, right? What color is it? What shape is it? Where is it? Isn't it true that anything you can see can be described by shape, color, and location? You answered yes out loud, didn't you? Well then, what did I'm not good enough look like when you were a child? What color was it? What shape was it? Where was it? Did you ever really see I'm not good enough? Yes, I know you saw mom and dad's behavior when they were annoyed with you, when you heard them criticize you. Anyone could have seen that. But you just realized that what you saw and heard could have many different meanings in addition to the one you gave the events, which was I'm not good enough. You may respond, Mom and Dad said I'm not good enough. I heard them say it. You may have heard them say it, but you never heard that it was true. One interpretation of their statement is that they're right. Another interpretation is they're wrong. It's clear that anything you can see, like a person or an object, can be physically described. So if you can't physically describe what I'm not good enough looks like, is it clear that you never really saw it? Now, if you never really saw I'm not good enough, what did you see? Imagine being a little kid again and tell me what you're seeing right now. Is it clear that all you really saw was the reaction of one or both of your parents when you did something? In other words, all you really saw was a series of events, right? I heard you say yes, didn't I? Remember what I pointed out a few minutes ago. What happened was that you looked at a series of events which can be interpreted in many different ways. You gave the events one meaning, which was I'm not good enough. By attributing that specific meaning to the events each time you saw mom and dad's behavior, it was as if you could see that meaning in their behavior. But you didn't discover the meaning in the events, you attributed the meaning to the events. Can you get that they had no meaning before you gave them one? I'm going to make an important distinction between consequences and meaning. There clearly were consequences to your parents' behavior. You got yelled at or punished, or your parents didn't talk to you. That was an unpleasant consequence. But was there any meaning to their behavior? Let me explain what I mean by meaning. Imagine you're in a room, and someone you know comes in and doesn't speak to you. What might you automatically think? For example, you might have just said, they're mad at me, or they're being rude, or they had something on their mind and just didn't notice me. Notice, however, that whatever you just said is the meaning you gave to the event. And where did the meaning you just gave their behavior come from? That's right, your mind. Meaning is in your mind, yes? So if meaning is in your mind, is there any meaning inherent in your parents' behavior? Or in any other events for that matter? Of course, the answer is no. So it's not that what happened to you as a child didn't matter. It just has no meaning. Is it real now that the events had no meaning until you attributed one to them? Here's another way to understand that events have no inherent meaning. When I say that, I'm saying that you don't know anything for sure about you, about other people, or about life as a result of these experiences. What do I know for sure if you're good enough or not from knowing how your parents treated you when you were a child? Nothing. And if I don't know anything, then you don't either. Now finally, if you never saw I'm not good enough out there in the world, where's it been all these years? Did I hear you say that I'm not good enough has only ever existed in your mind? That you never did see it out there in the world? That's right. Now, if the belief is more real to you as a feeling than as a concept, if it seems as if your parents' words and behavior didn't lead you to see your belief, but rather to feel your belief, here's another way to look at it. Didn't it seem as if your parents' behavior when you were a child made you feel that I'm not good enough? It did, didn't it? I'd like to suggest, however, that their behavior couldn't have made you feel I'm not good enough, because as you just acknowledged, the events had no meaning. And meaningless events can't make you feel anything, can they? Let's use an analogy to make this totally clear. If you're sitting in your room reading a book or watching TV with no intention of going out and it starts raining, what do you feel about the rain? Answer out loud, please. Probably nothing. The rain's not causing you to feel anything. Now imagine you're a farmer whose crops haven't had water for weeks and are now being saved by the rain. In this situation, how does the rain make you feel? It seems as if the rain makes you feel good. Well now, let's imagine you're about to have an outdoor wedding and everyone's getting soaked. How does the rain make you feel now? It seems as if the rain makes you feel bad. But is it really the rain that's making you feel good or bad? Or is it the meaning you're giving the rain? The rain itself has no meaning and can't produce any feelings. But give the rain one meaning and you feel good, give it another meaning and you feel bad. So if mom and dad's behavior had no meaning, it couldn't have made you feel I'm not good enough. And that leads us to a very interesting question. What did make you feel that? If you don't know the answer to this question, I'll tell you. You felt that only because that's the meaning you had already given to your parents' behavior. All you know for sure is what actually happened. Your mom and dad sounded annoyed or angry and perhaps punished you when you didn't do what they wanted you to do when they wanted you to do it. Let me help you make this real. Imagine that I had been there when you were a little child and had shown you the alternative interpretations for your parents' behavior. And after that conversation you concluded, my parents have unreasonable expectations of me. Their annoyance has nothing to do with whether I'm good enough or not. Now imagine being a little kid, and that after this conversation, mom and dad get annoyed at something you did or didn't do. Notice how it feels to be a child who's thinking, my parents have unreasonable expectations of me. That's why they're annoyed, not because I'm not good enough. You can use the pause button below to pause the video while you make this childhood scenario more real for yourself. When you're done imagining, press the play button. As you imagine this scene, giving it this other meaning, does it still feel as if your parents' behavior and their comments are making you feel I'm not good enough? Probably not. And if you didn't feel I'm not good enough then, would you feel it now? Again, you've probably just answered no out loud. So mom and dad's behavior never caused you to feel I'm not good enough. That feeling came from your interpretation of their behavior. And since your feelings were not caused by events in reality, they were only the result of the meaning you made up to explain the events, is it real that your feelings tell you nothing about whether or not you're good enough? Okay, now take a deep breath, let it out slowly, and then say out loud, I'm not good enough. Is it the truth? Does it still feel like the truth? You might say, of course I'm not good enough is not true. How could I possibly think that after going through all of this? But I'm not asking if the belief makes logical sense. I'm asking you to look at the statement in the same way you did when you started working on this belief. Does it still feel like I'm not good enough is true on a gut level? Does the statement feel true Or do the words feel flat now? Don't forget that we form beliefs to give meaning to events that have no real meaning. Having done that, we then think we observe the meaning in the events out there in the world. It becomes a fact for us. Once we realize that the earlier events never had any real meaning, that the meaning was only in our mind, that it was never a fact, and that the feeling we had was caused by the meaning we gave meaningless events, the belief disappears forever. Take another deep breath, then let it out, and say out loud, I'm not good enough. Doesn't it feel very different when you say these words now than when you said them at the beginning? Is there any sense of believing this statement at all? Unless the belief is 100% gone, so the words have no emotional meaning for you, you probably still have the belief. Remember, holding a belief is like being pregnant. You either is or you ain't. There is no sort of. The way to know if a belief has been eliminated is not to look at your feelings or thoughts in the past, when you did have the belief, or even try to guess how you'll feel in the future. The belief felt true on some level when you started, or you would not have spent time on the program. When you say the words of the belief now, I'm not good enough, do they feel true like they did when you started? Or do they sound sort of meaningless? If there's no emotional resonance when you say the words, the belief is gone. It might be difficult to accept that a belief you've lived with for many years can be eliminated in about 30 minutes. And yet that's exactly what's happened tens of thousands of times using the Lefkoe method. If I'm not good enough feels true at all, even a little bit, you probably still have the belief. You probably need to review the last part of the process a second time, because on some level it still seems like you saw your belief. Once it's clear that you never saw I'm not good enough, the belief will be totally gone. So if this is the case, please click the repeat button to repeat that step of the process. I want to congratulate you. You just eliminated a belief you've been living with for most of your life. Do you know that some people, possibly even you, spend years trying to get rid of a belief, and you just did it in about 30 minutes? Any lack of self-confidence or any negative sense of yourself might not stop totally, because you might have other beliefs that contribute to causing that sense. Eliminating all the beliefs causing that negative sense would totally eliminate it. In addition to eliminating beliefs and conditionings, the Lefkoe method has another important element. Some people say this additional aspect is even more powerful and exciting than the process you've already experienced. This process, which I call Who Am I Really, requires you to have eliminated at least one belief before it'll work, which is why this short program comes right after you eliminated a belief. During the next few minutes, you will have a transformational experience that will blow your socks off. I promise. Try it and see for yourself. Please answer all my questions out loud. Even though it might seem a little strange talking to someone whose voice is coming from your computer and who can't hear you, I'm sure you're used to it by now. It's important that you make each step real to yourself, and when you answer out loud, that's the best way to do it. Okay? I'd like you to imagine that as a child you had me, friendly Uncle Morty, living across the street from you. Every day before dinner you came to visit me and tell me about your life, the good and the bad. You told me about your interactions with your parents, much like you've imagined when you thought about the childhood events that led to your beliefs. Imagine further that as you formed each belief, you also told me about it. So one day when you were about 4 or 5 years old, you came to my house and told me you had concluded, mistakes and failure are bad, or I'm not good enough. Because I knew all about how beliefs start, I'd have told you that your conclusions were very reasonable given the events in your home. I'd have assured you that almost any child your age, having the same experiences, probably would have concluded the same thing. But what if I then helped you, as a little child, find alternative interpretations for your parents' behavior? Do you think you'd ever have formed the beliefs you did? You might have walked out of my house with very different beliefs like, Mom and Dad are critical sometimes because they think that's a good way to teach me, or my behavior may not always be the best, but that doesn't mean I'm not good enough as a person. Is it real that if your wise Uncle Morty had helped you find these alternative meanings for your parents' behavior when you were a child, you never would have formed the beliefs you did? And if you had had different beliefs, your life would have been different, wouldn't it? So based on what I just said and on the work you've done on this computer program, can you acknowledge now that you create your beliefs? Please say out loud, I create my beliefs. Can you acknowledge that your beliefs determine your life? In other words, that your beliefs determine how you behave and how you feel. Please say out loud, my beliefs determine my life. Doesn't it follow then that if you create the beliefs that determine your life, that you ultimately are the creator of your life? It's not that you directly cause how you behave and feel. It's that you create the beliefs that determine how you behave and feel. Please realize that by referring to yourself as a creator, you do not deny the existence of God or a higher power, or assume yourself to be some supernatural creature. In a very specific sense, the meanings you give to meaningless events are the beliefs about yourself and life that ultimately determine what you do and feel. In that sense, and only in that sense, do you determine your life. And that's the best news I'll give you all day. If it were the actual events in your childhood that determined your life, you'd be in big trouble, because you'd never be able to change what happened. But because it's the beliefs about those events that determine your behavior and feelings today, you can change the rest of your life by simply eliminating the beliefs. Please say the following words out loud. I create my beliefs determine what I do and feel, therefore I create my life, and I can change it. People usually think of themselves as the sum total of their beliefs about themselves. For example, I'm a hard worker. I'm a good parent. I'm someone who thinks I'm not very important. I'm someone for whom life is difficult. I'm someone who has a hard time making money, and so on. You just eliminated a belief about yourself. It might have been mistakes and failure are bad, or another way to put that is, I'm someone for whom mistakes and failure are bad. Or maybe you eliminated some other belief, such as I'm not good enough. Before the program, you felt the belief was a true statement about yourself. I am whatever the belief is. When you completed the program, you said that the belief was not true for you, and in fact never had been the truth about you. Look inside yourself right now. There's still a you there, isn't there? And I don't just mean your physical body. I mean, you still have an internal sense of yourself, don't you? Are you still answering out loud? It really is important for this process to be effective. Given that you still experience a you inside, think about this. If you've eliminated feelings and beliefs you identified as who you were, and yet you are still here, you can't be the sum total of your beliefs and feelings, can you? Yeah, so you could use the Lefkoe method to eliminate every single one of the beliefs you think are true about yourself, and you still wouldn't eliminate a sense of yourself. Or there's another way to look at it. If you can get rid of who you think you are and still maintain your identity, then you can't be who you think you are. You can't be your beliefs and feelings. You have to be something else. So think about who you really are. I'll give you a clue. How did the beliefs get into your head? In other words, how did meaningless events produce meaning in you? Can you see that there had to be an interpreter of mom and dad's behavior before there was an interpretation? There had to be an I who originated the belief before a belief existed. That I is who you really are. And that makes you the creator of your life and not what you created. Is it real to you now that you're the belief creator and not merely the creation, which is the sum total of your beliefs? You're not your beliefs, you're the creator of your beliefs. You're not your life, you're the creator of your life. You created the game. Here's a simple analogy that might make this point even more clear. Imagine that who you really are is a sculptor, And when your physical body is born, it's an unformed mass of clay. As the sculptor, you look at your model, which in the beginning is your parents' behavior, and you then start sculpting the clay. You put a little "I'm not good enough," some mistakes and failure bad, and so forth and so on. And when you complete the sculpture, do you know what happens? You forget you're the sculptor, and you live the rest of your life as if you're the piece of sculpture. Pretty deep, eh? I suspect you know right now that you're the creator of your life in a very profound way. At the moment you saw there had to be an I who existed before the beliefs, who actually created the beliefs, you transformed yourself from the creation into the creator. And I think you now know that in a very special way. You see, there are three radically different ways to know something. First, cognitively, by understanding it. Second, experientially, by experiencing it. And third, by distinguishing or creating it. We're familiar with and are accustomed to talking about the first two ways of knowing something. For example, you can describe a great meal you've had. You can describe the ingredients, how it was cooked, what it tasted like, how it smelled, how you felt while eating it, and more. You can even show me pictures of the food. I can understand the meal after you describe it to me in detail. I can even want to eat it, because by understanding your meal, it makes me feel as if I would enjoy it. But you know that meal in a way I don't, because you've had the experience of eating it. You've actually tasted it. Experience isn't a better way to know something, it's just a different way. There's a third way to know something, by distinguishing it. To know something when you distinguish or create it as true is different than merely knowing something because you understand it or experience it. Can you see that? At the moment you realize there had to be an I who created the beliefs before there were beliefs, you made a distinction between yourself as the sum total of your beliefs and yourself as the creator of your life. You didn't merely understand or experience that you're the creator of your beliefs. You created it as true. When you do that, you know something in a very profound way. Don't you know at this very moment that you're the creator of your life in a profound way that goes beyond understanding or experience? Don't you know that? Just for the moment, don't think about the future or the past. Just look inside yourself right now as the creator of your life. What's possible? Saying your answers out loud makes each step of the process much more real and powerful than merely thinking the answer. What feels possible right now? If you truly get that you're the interpreter, not the sum total of your interpretations, it'll feel right now as if anything is possible. Is that how you feel now? Look inside yourself right now as the creator. What limitations do you have? Again, please answer out loud. What limitations do you feel when you look inside yourself right now? It feels as if there's no limitations, doesn't it? Would you agree that up until now, no matter how good things in your life were, there was usually the feeling that something was missing, that there was almost always a sense of, if only? Just for the moment, put aside what you felt and known up to now and what you expect to feel and know a few minutes from now. Just look inside yourself at this very moment and experience yourself as the creator of the beliefs that determine your life. Is there anything missing right now? Right now, as the creator, it feels as if nothing's missing, doesn't it? What's your experience or sense of yourself as the interpreter or creator right now? Please answer out loud. In the course of tens of thousands of sessions, people have described the experience as powerful, serene, calm, peaceful, whole, complete, satisfied, empowered, there being nothing missing, no limitations, and unlimited possibilities. By being a full participant in the Lefkoe method and allowing me to guide you through this process, you've created a state of consciousness in which you experience yourself as the creator of your beliefs and therefore of your life. You've been in a state of consciousness in which you experience nothing is missing and anything is possible. And when you make it real for yourself, that who you really are is consciousness, which is just another way of saying the creator of your life, you'll no longer be at the effect of whatever had been upsetting you. You'll experience a distance between yourself, with a capital S, and any disturbing thoughts or feelings you may have. It feels like yourself is observing the creation having upsetting thoughts and feelings. They're still there, but in this state, they won't run you. Try using this exercise and let me know how you like being able to transform the quality of your life at will. If you need help getting into the Who Am I Really space, just return to this program whenever you want and spend about 8 minutes distinguishing yourself as the creator of your life. Using the Lefkoe method enables you to achieve 2 important results. First, you can change your creation by changing the beliefs that make up the creation. The creation, which is the sum total of your beliefs, will be different, so your thoughts, feelings, and behavior will change naturally without any effort. There's nothing more you have to do. When you eliminate all the beliefs that cause a given problem, the problem itself will disappear. Second, the Who Am I Really process you just did enables you to distinguish yourself as the creator of the creation. In that space, you discover who you really are and transcend the creation altogether. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to make a difference in your life. And now that you've experienced what it's like to totally eliminate a belief and deeply realize you're the creator of your life, imagine what you could do if you were to eradicate all 19 of the beliefs that block achievement for most people. You'd have the confidence to achieve your dreams and be unstoppable. Well, I've created a program that does that and a little more, including getting rid of your concern with the opinion of others. Just click on Discover More below, or wait for this video to finish, and you'll be whisked away to another page where I tell you about everything I have in store for you. I'll see you there.